Welcome to my presentation on organizational development interventions. My interventions are going to be an organizational climate assessment and team building communications seminar. The next few slides are going to cover my OD competencies, organizational conditional interfaces, the entry phase of the OD process, organizational evaluations, the targeted outcomes, along with the action planning phase. We will be intervening at a team level within a large governmental organization. Next, we will look at the project timelines, the planning phase. We will also look at the two organizational interventions, the implementation phases, along with our presentations and our intervention of mutual learning and communication seminars. Next, we'll look at the organizational separation and the reinforcement phase as we start to exit the OD model. Organizational closeout. We'll look at the post-interventional evaluations, long-term strategies for transference of these new skills, and reliance upon the new talents, skills, and abilities left with the organizations. Next, we'll touch on the interventional ethical considerations, as well as some of the considerations as professionals. Next, I will provide you with the conclusions, and we'll also look at the references used to develop this PowerPoint. What are my DO competencies? Well, I have been with the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, as an academy instructor for over 12 years, as well as I am also trained as an organizational facilitator. Additionally, I hold the present position within the FAA, within the office that is going to receive the intervention, as a team leader. Additionally, as part of my curriculum for my bachelor's degree at the University of North Texas, I'm looking at developing organizational leadership and strategic management as a long-term goal in lifetime learning. The organizational conditions in the interface. On the entry phase, we're looking at a large U.S. government agency, the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration. It encompasses over 6,200 employees in the Flight Standards Division alone. This does not include the ATC and the other functions within the FAA. We will be centering and targeting only within one office within the FAA in the Flight Standards Division. That office will be the Certification Evaluation Program Office. It encompasses about 110 employees, consisting of 8 organizational teams comprised of 12 to 15 employees. They consist of an assistant manager, a team leader like myself, and organizational team members that have both operational, pilot experiences, airworthiness inspectors, and avionics safety inspectors. Additionally, we will be touching upon the administrative support staff that support these 8 offices. The initial responses and responsibilities for the Certification Evaluation Program Office is to conduct initial certification for aviation service providers. Additionally, our larger encompass interface with the outside public and internal to the FAA is ongoing certification evaluation inspections, also known as CHEPs. Within each of the organizational field offices, there's between 110 and 96 field offices presently encompassing the FAA flight standards structure. This touches upon and comprises about 4,800 field-level inspectors, managers, and office managers. We will be touching upon that and centered, like I said, only on the 110 employees comprised of the 8 teams within the certification of program management. The organizational intervention. We're going to be looking at the startup and the intake assessment phase. We're going to be looking at the leadership assessment of what they believe the current organizational condition to be. We're going to be looking at the team's lack of interpersonal communication skills, lack of effective self-facilitation skills in order to lead and manage interfaces, meetings, and other group activities. Leadership has also identified that their communication skills and management of their teams with these highly educated and self-motivated employees has been a difficulty. Part of our contracted goals as a DO practitioner We'll be evaluating the current state of the certification and evaluation organization. We'll be designing interventional tools, and then we will be looking at reassessing the organizational change, looking for changes in skills, behaviors, and engagement strategies. We'll also be leaving this with reinforcement activities that allows the OD skills to be transferred to the organization as we depart. Next, let's look at the targeted outcomes, our action planning phase. As we discussed previously, the team level intervention is where we're going to be targeting this DO intervention. We're going to look at the project planning, time and motion predictions. We're going to be discussing the interventional tools. The two tools that have been selected for this intervention with the Certification and Program Office will be an organizational climate assessment, an OCA. It'll be comprised of two parts. Some one-on-one OCA interviews, which will be conducted face-to-face. Additionally, we'll be creating a survey monkey of an OCA web survey in order to be able to distribute and get additional data points from an anonymous standpoint. Next, from the data that we received from the organizational climate assessments, we will be conducting and tailoring our mutual learning and group communication skills seminar. Those will be comprised of mindsets, key behaviors videos, which I have produced and is attached to this PowerPoint. Additionally, after that video, we will go through and dive into the mindsets and the key behaviors for self-facilitation within these work groups and within their organizations. Additionally, we'll be looking at the management teams, groups, and how they manage their meetings, functions, and interactions, both internal and external, to the FAA. Project timeline. This is going to encompass somewhere approximately 268 days. We'll be looking at the entry phase, which we're discussing presently. We'll be looking at creating the OCAs and conducting those assessments, rolling up that data, starting down the interventional path to conduct the seminars from the OCA data, and then we will conduct the seminars from that data as previously discussed. The mutual learning communication seminars will be comprised of 4 individual segments that are spaced 1 week apart. Typically, these intervention and these seminars last for a period of 3 days individually. Next, we'll be looking at the post-assessment of the organization as part of our evaluation, looking for change. Additionally, we'll be looking at the leadership outbriefing, where we'll be looking to turn over within the OD model the adoption and separation phase. Next, we'll be looking at the operational contract closeout portion as we exit and as part of our exit strategy from this OD intervention. Additionally plotted in our timeline is an opportunity for re-engagement, conducting longitudinal studies in order to reassess using the same tools to see that the embedded skills, behaviors have transferred and are still being deployed, and that there are no further nuances or new data or interventions or tools that need to be conducted. Let's discuss a little bit more detail about the organizational interventions. In the implementation phase, as we discussed, we're going to be doing the organizational climate assessments. We discussed we're going to be doing one-on-one interviews, both with line employees as well as the management staff and team leaders. Within those face-to-face interviews, we will be provided them with knowledge and understanding of their own cultures, biases, and their preferences on how they like to learn, how they like to transfer knowledge amongst themselves and their peers. Additionally, we'll be looking at creating a survey monkey, which will be an anonymous survey that will be conducted on the web for each member of the team and management and team leaders to anonymously provide data. By cross-triangulating our one-on-one interviews, the Survey Monkey data, and the Senior Leadership Intake Seminar, we will be able to triangulate the data and be able to tailor our tools appropriately. Now, as we discuss the OCA data results, the areas after we have conducted this showed areas of improvement at the individual and the team level. Within the individuals, we see personal insights and internal and external biases, understandings, and preferences. At the team level, we look at mutual interactions and how each are communicating with each other and the hows, whats, and whys. On the individual level, we're looking at the personal insights of individuals as obtained from the data in the OCA. We're looking at the why, the how, and the what of the person. We're talking about the internal versus the external person, how they interact internally, and how they are processing externally, using their inside and outside voices and thoughts. At the team level, or the group interactions, we're looking for behaviors. Are the behaviors of our teams presently mutually collaborative in creating interactions that are positive, neutral, or negative? We're going to be looking at the personal and the group communications. Are we providing collaborative, sharing, and supportive environments for which we build, lead, and conduct our business daily? Mutual learning communication seminars. As previously discussed, we're going to be looking at the mindsets and the key behaviors. We will be providing the video at the seminar to the individual and the participants. This video was created by myself as a separate project within another part of my curriculum, which was based on the 8 Behaviors for Smarter Teams, which is an adaptation from Roger Schwartz and Associates, a renowned leader of innovational techniques in team building to build smarter teams and smarter leaderships. Next, we'll take from those key 5-minute videos, we'll start diving down into that. We will discuss the key behaviors for self-facilitation. This builds accountability within our teams and how we interact with each other. Additionally, we'll be adding on discussions with management, how to manage teams, groups, and our meetings to our external stakeholders. Teams. Together, everyone will achieve more. This is the opening slide for our Cultural Biases Learning Seminar, which is comprised of the video and the 2 other components as previously discussed. Crazy thoughts for creating amazing teams. If you just take a moment now and play the video, and then after that, proceed to the next slide. Organizational separation in the reinforcement phase. We're starting to wind down the OD process at this point. We're going to do a reassessment evaluating for changed states. Again, we will rerun the one-on-one interviews. We will reissue the Survey Monkey, the OCA survey, in order to gather a change in comparison data. We will additionally be interviewing the key management officials and their leaderships at the outbriefing, looking for embedded skills transfers. Again, the image that you see on your slide is also from the OD Principles by Gary McLean. Freezing, unfreezing, and change. Organizational closeout, the post-interventional evaluations. We're going to do the leadership assessments of the new organizational conditions, looking for the team's interpersonal skills development, effective self-facilitation skills, and leadership team communication styles. We're looking for the organizational change at this point. The comparison data between the OCA intake and exit should provide the validation of a changed state. Next, we're going to look at the contracted goals, evaluations of the current state of the certification evaluation organization. We'll be looking at the designed interventional tools and a transfer of those tools to the organization for further use. We'll be looking at the reassessment of the organizational change, a change in skills, behaviors, and engagement changes. Reinforcement activities that the organization can continue to use. This is part of the OD skills transfer that we look for as practitioners. Interventional ethics considerations. Part of the interventions that we conduct are on a personal level. So we need to be sensitive to the personalities of individuals that we encompass, and additionally, how they work in group dynamics, being sensitive to those issues. Some people are introverts, extroverts, and otherwise, and each has interpersonal communication standards for which they are culturally exclusive of. We're going to be looking at the leadership cultures, methods, and practices. We want to make sure that the data that we have gathered is valid and it reflects the true state of the affairs and reflects the organizational cultures, mannerisms, and skill sets, both before and after the OD interface. In conclusion, we have looked at the Certification Evaluation Program Office of the FAA. This is a small portion of a U.S. government organization and agency. We're going to be focused down at the team level, looking at middle management, team leaders, and the individual team members. We're looking for new acquired skill sets and behaviors, the application of the new mindsets, and improvement in the interpersonal communications amongst themselves and external stakeholders. We're also looking for an improvement in their comfort and abilities to facilitate themselves, self-facilitate within their teams and their groups, as well as running meetings. We're looking for improved gatherings, the meetings, and planning and executions of those to have improved over the organizational time and exposure during the DO intervention. Some of the references that have been used to develop this PowerPoint and this presentation was the use of the Organizational Development Principles, Processes, and Performances by Gary McNeil, which was the text for this course. Additionally, I've utilized the 8 Behaviors for Smarter Teams, a web article resource back in March of 18 with Roger Schwartz and Associates. We've also looked at the ADCARB model, which was provided by the ProSite Research Foundation by Jeffrey Hilt. Additionally, my PowerPoint presentation of Crazy Thoughts for Creating Amazing Teams, which was a PowerPoint audio YouTube video that was produced and created back in March of 18. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen and view this presentation today.